Hey, welcome back to our channel where we talk about retire early lifestyle, whether it's at home or abroad. That does include moving to low cost low cost of living area in the States or Canada or wherever you're from, and also moving abroad. And a lot of people do move abroad. And whenever we make these videos about crime, abroad, there's a lot of people that want to tell you, well, there's crime everywhere, but the focus is always the idea here that, yeah, there's crime everywhere, but guess what? You're not always the target, but you are in these places. Like here, Americans in Tijuana are targets of organized crime, and a lot of other places we've covered, in Mexico, in Ecuador, and a lot of the other countries. If you haven't seen our playlist, we have a playlist in our video Rolodex that you can go check out, and you'll see the crime videos that we've made. And sometimes people are like, well, why don't you put it in the title that this is in Ecuador, this is in Mexico? And I understand that, that's fine. But the point is, whether you go to Ecuador, or whether you go to Mexico, or whether you go to Dominican Republic, doesn't seem to matter in these crime stories. What does matter, what does seem to be the prime focus of every single story, is that the targets are Americans as foreigners, as foreign residents in these foreign countries. And in this article, Americans in Tijuana are targets of organized crime. Several of them were killed. They were kidnapped, people showing up in their houses with ski masks and guns and blah, blah, blah. In some cases, they were simply lured under false pretenses to a location for meeting. And so I have an inside view on living abroad. Give you some examples. You've got this thing that goes on when you go abroad, that you're the foreigner and you get treated like one when it comes to price discrimination, where people like to, the minute they see you or figure out you're a foreigner, and this is global. And it's an issue that, as smart as we are about avoiding it, and we do avoid it 95%, maybe even 99% of the time, we've gotten to the point where we're that good. And we've had people, locals in Ecuador, say, wow, that's pretty good. You're getting just about the same price we pay. Maybe we were 5 or 10% higher, and I'm sure in many cases we paid the price, the actual price. And this is not about a sack of tomatoes, it's everything. A to Z, you name it. Just fill the list of everything that you buy every day, every month, every year, whatever it is that you're likely to buy, and especially real estate. Which brings us to the point that we've made videos about the subject matter of vicious cycle, where Americans go to the same places, and a certain sets in motion a certain cycle, which culminates in the exponential increase of violent crime against them, specifically for the reasons of how these groups behave. And it isn't like Americans go abroad and say, well, you know what, I'm going to do all these things and then I know these things are going to happen. They don't have any clue how that they are a small piece of a large puzzle, that when you put it together, all together, it comes complete. This cycle is put in motion, and it just always culminates in violent crime against them in their own neighborhoods. And it isn't any different in Mexico. A lot of the stories were in Mexico, but this could be Dominican Republic, could be Ecuador, could be Argentina, anywhere. It has happened and is happening everywhere. This particular story is in Tijuana, and a lot of Americans are in these border towns now, and there's not a shortage of housing. There's literally no housing. There is no housing. These towns were not designed for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to just swarm in and just start paying higher and higher prices. And of course, I won't go into the details because we've outlined this vicious cycle or circle either way in other videos, so I won't go into detail. But that's what's happening, because you've got right across the border very wealthy Californians. They may not perhaps think they're so wealthy, but every time they go abroad, it doesn't seem to matter where they go, It's not anything against Californians. I used to live in California many, many years ago. It isn't personal, guys. I've met some Californians, very nice people, really chipper and nice people, good to meet. Happy to meet you in the street there in Cuenca. But the point is that people from high cost of living areas that go to these, well, let's call them what they are, lower cost of living areas, whether they happen to be abroad or not, they're low cost of living areas. And the fact that you stand out as a foreigner and everybody knows you're a foreigner puts you at a disadvantage. And so, when you go to a lower cost of living area in your own country, in Canada or the U.S., you go to a lower cost of living area. Well, hey, you're an American, right? Okay, so you're an American from, you're American from the north, and you're coming down to Arizona, or you're coming down to Nevada, or a southern state, or Florida, or something. You're still an American. You look like them, you sound like them, sort of. Depends on the South. But in most cases, there's a marked difference when we go abroad where we stand out so much, and we don't have to do much to stand out. All we have to do is just simple things like have a U.S. number on our WhatsApp, or have an American-sounding name on our Facebook, or it just isn't, just all these little things that we take for granted that normally don't trip us up in our own country, but the minute we go abroad, they trip us up. I started saying that 99% of the things that we do, we have gotten so good at it that we're able to navigate our way through as locals, which is pretty amazing when you consider how difficult it can be, especially in an area where it's just super swamped with foreigners, like places like Tijuana or even Ensenada, and a lot of places, actually in Baja, even La Paz. There are so many Americans. And of course, you've got both extremes. It used to be, in Mexico, Mexico, just like any other Latin country, the local salary rates, or even the pay rate of an upper middle class Mexican compares to what the price of a lower rent goes for in California. And so you got all these people coming from California that are coming in paying for rent the upper middle class income of the locals. So imagine that. What's a upper middle income in the U.S. now? I know you have people that have told me, "Oh, you don't know anything. You don't know what's going on. You haven't been in the U.S. in the last few years. You don't know anything." Right. So, like, we don't live in the information age. It's just it's just total obscurity. You have to be there. But the upper middle income in America could be six-figure income, let's say, and imagine foreigners coming to your neighborhood in America and paying a six-figure income for rents all around in your neighborhood. All of a sudden, your neighborhoods start getting swamped from these foreigners from wherever, from Mars, and they start paying, six figures for housing, and all of a sudden, you have to compete with that. Remember, this is not for income. This is just for rent. This is what they're paying for rent. And this is what's happening when Californians come across the border, and they're just gleefully happy to pay what is considered a local upper class income in Mexico just for rent. And it's not just the price. It's just that the place just doesn't have the housing. So, and all of these places are like that. And a lot of the places where foreigners all congregate, the same thing happens. In some places, it's just quicker than others. It leads to what's happening with the crime. And if you're not sure, if you're not connecting the dots, you really want to go to some of our other videos where we talk about the Gringo vicious cycle. And it's not something I find joy in discussing or reporting on my videos. It's just something that in the 10 years that we've been abroad, I'm a student of observation, and I've seen this cycle happen over and over and over multiple times, and I keep seeing it all over the globe, and therefore there it is. Go watch the video, and you'll see that's exactly what's happening in Tijuana, because these border towns, and this doesn't happen just in border towns, but I just didn't want anybody to dismiss it as, well, it's just a border town, because it's the same thing in all of these places. It just so happens that in the border towns there's already a crime, but these crimes here, the targets of this organized crime is unfortunately Americans. And I say unfortunately because a lot of people, nobody is fortunate to be a victim of crime, whether they're Americans or not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that a lot of times people go abroad with the idea that they're going, their life is going to become just free of any challenges and free of any issues, and they're, leaving problems behind, and everything's going to be just perfect when they go abroad. So I'm sorry to bring you this news. There were several of these kidnappings that happened, and yes, Americans did get killed in these, whether they paid ransoms or not. They seem to have been killed. So the perpetrators were caught, but just like any of the other crime stories we brought to you before, it's a good thing that the perpetrators are caught, but that doesn't bring back the people that lost their lives in the ordeal. So I hope you got something out of that, and you can make your plans a little bit better than before. Thanks for coming to our channel, and have a wonderful day.